Bible in a year, making it easier to understand.
And I just kept thinking, John, if I can barely organize a carpool for 3 kids on a Tuesday and we have GPS and a group chat, how on earth did Moses manage 2 million people in the middle of a desert without so much as a megaphone or a clipboard? I mean, I looked at the text for Numbers 2 and Numbers 3, and it's so clean, so organized, but the reality must have been absolute chaos, right?
Right? It's the ultimate logistics nightmare turned into a divine masterpiece of organization. You're talking about moving a population the size of Houston, Texas, across a sand dune. But here's the kicker. They didn't just wander like a disorganized mob. They were a machine, an absolute, well-oiled engine of a nation.
And that's exactly what we're diving into today. Welcome to Bible in a Year, making it easier to understand. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm John. We are on day 58, and we are looking at Numbers 2 and 3. This is the moment where the census we talked about yesterday actually gets put into a physical floor plan. It's moving day from Sinai, and God is the lead architect.
It's funny, because when you read Numbers 2, it really does feel like you're reading a zoning ordinance or a city planning document. North Side has these 3 tribes, South Side has those 3, but you mentioned it was a machine. For someone listening while they're stuck in traffic or doing dishes, what does that machine actually look like in 2024?
Think of it like a massive, city-sized square. At the very center, the literal heart of the operation, is God's mobile headquarters, what the text calls the Tabernacle. And then everyone else is zoned in specific quadrants around it. Every tribe had a standard. The Hebrew word is dagel, which is basically like a huge, high-visibility rallying flag or a military banner.
So if you're a kid from the tribe of Zebulun and you get lost looking for manna, you don't panic. You just look for the big banner in the sky and find your way back to your specific neighborhood?
Exactly. It's all about identity and belonging. If you don't know where you belong, you can't move forward together. And the organization is intentional. God starts with the east side. In the ancient world, you didn't orient yourself to the north like we do with our maps today. You oriented to the east because that's where the sun rises.
The rising sun. That's such a beautiful image for the lead position. And who is the lead tribe over there?
Judah, the tribe of praise. They had the post of honor. Think about that. Whenever the cloud lifted and the nation started to move, the first thing everyone saw was the banner of Judah. They led with praise, and they led toward the light of the rising sun.
Wait, John? I'm looking at the numbers here. Judah had 74,600 men. When you add in Issachar and Zebulun, that east side division alone has over 186,000 soldiers. That is a massive amount of people to move in one direction. How did they not trip over each other?
Standardization, Steph. It's like a modern mirror of an airport's terminal system. Everyone has a gate, everyone has a sequence, and they all had these symbols on their banners. Traditional Jewish sources tell us that Judah's banner had a lion on it.
A lion? Like the Lion of Judah?
Bingo! And the other 3 sides had their own symbols. A man for the south, an ox for the west, and an eagle for the north. Does that sound familiar?
Wait, is that the same thing Ezekiel saw in his vision? The 4 faces?
You nailed it. When Ezekiel sees the throne of God in heaven, he sees these 4 living creatures with those exact same faces. It's like God was saying, I want my camp on earth to be a literal mirror of my court in heaven. The way they camped wasn't just about parking tents. It was about spatial theology. It was a physical testimony that the creator of the universe was centrally present in their lives.
I love that. But John, there's one detail in Numbers 2 that caught my eye. It says they had to camp some distance from the mobile headquarters. It wasn't like they were all huddled right against the walls. Why the gap?
Reverence. God is close. He's at the center, but he's also holy. That gap was a reminder that you don't just barge in on the king. It's like having a verified blue check mark on social media. God is putting his official seal on the relationship, saying, these are my people. But there's still a level of respect and order that has to be maintained. You can't have a relationship without boundaries, right?
Spoken like a man who knows I'll steal his fries if he doesn't set boundaries.
Exactly. But seriously, if they were too close, the voltage of God's presence could be dangerous. That's why we need the buffer zone. And that brings us to the technical crew of the wilderness, the Levites.
The Levites. They didn't get to be part of the army count, did they?
Nope. They had a completely different job description. While the other tribes were focused on defense and the outer perimeter, the Levites were focused on the infrastructure. They were the ones living in that gap between the people and God's presence.
So if the camp is a machine, the Levites are the maintenance crew keeping the engine running.
Spot on. And they weren't just one big group, they were three very specialized strike teams. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about why one group had to carry the furniture on their shoulders while the others got the cool carts.
Knowing my back, I'd definitely be lobbying for the cart. We'll be right back.
And we are back. Welcome back to the living room, everyone. We are knee-deep in day 58, and we've just moved from the big picture of how the 12 tribes were zoned around God's mobile headquarters to the actual technical setup crew that makes the whole thing function.
You know, John, as I was reading through the family records of Aaron in Numbers 3, my heart kind of sank. It mentions Nadab and Abihu again, those two sons of Aaron who died because they offered strange fire before the Lord. It's such a heavy, jarring way to start a chapter about service and community. It's like, here's the team, and by the way, here are the two guys who didn't make it.
It is jarring, but it's there as a massive, modern mirror for the rest of the chapter. Think about it like a high-voltage power plant. If you or I just wander into the main reactor room because we think the glowing lights look cool and we start flipping switches without any training, we're going to get hurt. Not because the power plant is mean or angry, but because the energy there is so intense, it requires a specific protocol to handle it.
So, Nadab and Abihu weren't just making a mistake. They were basically trying to hack the mainframe without a password.
Exactly. They were bypassing the safety manual. And God's presence, His high-voltage holiness, is the ultimate power source. So, to protect the 2 million people in the camp, God sets up a specialized security and logistics corps. These are the Levites. Their job is to stand in that buffer zone we talked about in segment 1.
I love that. It's like the Levites are the technical setup crew for a massive stadium tour. If you've ever seen a big concert, there's the band, the presence everyone is there for. But then there's this army of people in black t-shirts with headsets and clipboards, making sure the lights don't fall and the sound doesn't blow.
Yes, and God is a God of order. He doesn't just say, "Hey, Levites, grab a pole and start walking." He breaks them down into 3 very specific strike teams based on their family lines: the Gershonites, the Kohathites, and the Merarites. Each team had a totally different job description.
Okay, let's go through the roster. I'm looking at my notes for the Gershonites. They were the textile team, right?
You got it. They handled all the soft goods: the curtains for the tabernacle, the tent coverings, the screens for the entrance, even the ropes. It was basically a massive interior design and drape department. And because fabric is heavy but foldable, God gave them 2 carts and 4 oxen to haul it all.
2 carts. That feels like a fair deal. But then we get to the Merarites. Their job sounds way more intense.
Oh, the Merarites were the infrastructure team. They weren't moving curtains. They were moving the skeletal support. We're talking about the frames, the crossbars, the heavy pillars, and those massive bronze bases that held the whole mobile headquarters together.
Wait, John, look at the math here. The Merarite clan actually had fewer men than the Gershonites, 6,200 compared to 7,500. But they got 4 carts and 8 oxen. Why did the smaller crew get double the equipment?
Because they were hauling the steel beams of the tabernacle. This is such a cool modern mirror for our lives today. God doesn't just distribute resources based on how many followers you have or how big your team is. He distributes them based on the weight of the task He gave you.
That is so encouraging. So if someone listening feels like they're carrying a heavy infrastructure season of life right now, maybe a hard health battle or a massive work project, God isn't expecting them to do it with 2 cart energy.
Not at all. If the load is heavier, He gives you more oxen. He provides the bandwidth for the burden. He's not a cruel foreman. He's a master architect who knows exactly how much torque each team needs.
Okay, so we have the textile team with 2 carts and the infrastructure team with 4 carts. But then we get to the third group, the Kohathites. And John, they didn't get any carts.
0. Zilch. Not a single wheel in sight for the Kohathites.
That seems so unfair. They were the ones in charge of the VIP gear, the Ark of the Covenant, the golden lampstand, the altars. You're telling me they had to carry the most high-voltage items in the whole camp on their literal shoulders?
Exactly. They used poles, and carried the holy furniture on their shoulders. And here's the modern mirror for that. You can automate the curtains and you can delegate the infrastructure, but you cannot automate the presence.
Say more about that.
Think about it. We live in a world of carts. We have apps that read the Bible to us. We have podcasts. We have automated giving. And those things are great. They're the Gershonite carts that help us move. But the holy things, the actual weight of God's presence in our lives, that has to be carried close to the heart. It's personal. It requires human shoulders. God doesn't want his presence to be a cargo. He just lugs around. He wants to be carried by the people he loves.
Wow. So service isn't always about efficiency. Sometimes it's about intimacy. If you're feeling tired from carrying the weight of your faith, maybe it's because you're doing exactly what you were designed to do, holding the most sacred things close to you.
Exactly. And the Kohathites were even warned. They couldn't even look at the holy things while they were being packed. Aaron and the priests had to cover the ark first with special blue cloths and leather. It was a reminder that even when God is on the move with you, he is still the King of Kings. You don't get casual with the Creator.
I guess there were no ark selfies allowed back then.
Definitely no day in the life of a Kohathite vlogs. But hey, there's one more part of this moving day setup that is actually the most mind-blowing thing in the whole book of Numbers. It involves some very specific math and 273 extra people.
Wait, math? John, you know I was an art major? Are you really going to make census subtraction sound exciting for our listeners?
I promise you, once you see the subscription buyback logic here, it changes how you see the entire New Testament. It's the core gem of the whole day.
All right, I'm buckled in. Let's take one more quick break, and when we come back, we'll see why God cares about a rounding error of 273 people.
It's the best part. We'll be right back.
And we are back, refreshed, caffeinated, and ready for John to fulfill his promise of making ancient census mathematics actually sound exciting. Seriously, John, you've been hyping up these 273 extra people since we started. I'm looking at Numbers 3, and I see a lot of names and a lot of numbers. 22,000 here, 22,273 there. Why does this matter?
Okay, buckle up, because this is the core hidden gem of the whole day. To get why the 273 matter, we have to go back to the why. Remember Egypt, the 10th plague? God spared the firstborn of Israel when the firstborn of Egypt were taken. Because he saved them, he legally owned them. He told Moses, "Every firstborn male belongs to me."
Right. So the original plan was basically that every family's oldest son would be dedicated to full-time service in God's mobile headquarters. I can't imagine the logistics of that, having one kid from every single household living in the center of the camp.
Exactly. It would have been a beautiful mess. But God, in his wisdom, says, "I'll take a trade. Instead of one kid from every family, I'll take the entire tribe of Levi as a collective substitute. It's a subscription buyback. The Levites stand in for the firstborn. So Moses does the math. He counts every firstborn male in Israel from 1 month old and up, and the total is 22,273.
Okay, I'm with you. 22,273 firstborns who owe their lives to God's service.
Then he counts the Levite males. The total? 22,000.
Wait a second. I see the problem. We've got 22,000 Levites to cover, 22,273 firstborns. We are 273 people short.
Exactly. And in any other organization, 273 people out of a population of over 2 million would just be a rounding error. If you're a CEO and your inventory is 0.01% off, you just write it off and move on, right? But God doesn't do rounding errors. He doesn't do close enough.
That's actually so wild to think about. Out of 2 million people, he's looking at these specific 273 families and saying, hey, your son doesn't have a substitute. The math doesn't balance.
It's incredible. He tells Moses that for those 273 extra guys, a redemption price must be paid, 5 shekels of silver each. The Hebrew word for this is pada. Let's use the 5th grade rule here. Pada basically just means buying someone out of a debt or slavery. He wasn't going to let them just slide by. He wanted every single person accounted for.
But 5 shekels? That sounds like a random number. Is that a lot?
It was about 20 days' wages. It was significant, but it wasn't soul-crushing. It was enough to make you notice the cost. And the silver was given to Aaron and the priests. But here's the modern mirror that actually makes me want to jump out of my chair.
I can see you literally bouncing, John. Go for it.
This whole 273 thing is a setup for the gospel. In the New Testament, Peter tells us that we weren't redeemed. We weren't pata ed, with perishable things like silver or gold. Those 5 shekels were just a placeholder for the price Jesus would eventually pay. See, the math in Numbers 3 is a legal proof that God knows exactly who is covered and who isn't. He is a God of precision.
So, the listener today who feels like they're just another number in the crowd, just another profile in an algorithm, God is saying, I see the 273. I see the one. I don't lose track of the details of your life.
That's it. You are not a statistic. You are specifically placed in your quadrant of the camp. You are specifically gifted, whether you're a Merarite hauling the heavy beams or a Kohathatite carrying the holy things. And you are fully, precisely redeemed.
I love that so much. It turns what could be a dry chapter into a love letter about how much he cares about the individual. So, John, give it to me. What's the text message summary for day 58?
Here it is. In God's camp, no one is a rounding error. You are specifically placed, specifically gifted, and fully redeemed by the ultimate substitute.
You are not a rounding error. I think I need to put that on a sticky note on my mirror. Well, that is a wrap on the logistics of the wilderness. Tomorrow, we get into the nitty-gritty of the Kohathites and the direct, high-stakes instructions for moving the most holy things.
It's going to be heavy lifting in the best way. We'll see you then.
And don't forget to look for your banner today. Peace out, everyone.
Thanks for hanging out with the Deeper Dive community today.